What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back, ready to talk about some hoops. And I want to say thank you for joining me today to tune in. I greatly appreciate it. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel, talk to more people, and talk about more basketball. But let's get into it. Today we're doing another season recap for the 24-25 NBA season. The first team to be eliminated from the playoffs, the Memphis Grizzlies. I will be talking about them today. And boy, was their playoff series with the Oklahoma City Thunder just ugly. Just horrible. Absolutely horrible. This is not the Grizzlies team that I hoped we would see in the playoffs. I thought we would see a little bit more from this team. I'm a big fan of Ja Morant, so he didn't really show up the way I thought he was going to show up. And, you know, the series involved a game one blowout in OKC of 51 points. One of the worst playoff losses, you know, in game one history. And then there was also I don't know if it was game two or game three. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was game three, where the Thunder were down by 29 points at one point. It was game three because this was in Memphis. It was 29 points, and they came back. I went to bed, right? Like, I was, you know, I'm on the East Coast. The game was on a little bit later. I was like, I got to go to bed. Like, there's no way Thunder coming back from this. They just didn't show up to this game. I wake up in the morning. They're like, Thunder won 114 to 108. I'm like, how in the world did this happen? So just an absolute mess of a playoff run for the Grizzlies. No discredit to the Thunder. The Thunder are obviously a great team, but I really do think if it was the Warriors playing the Thunder in the first round, it would have been a little bit different. So, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. But so let's talk about the season that they had. Obviously, Ja Morant is their, you know, star, number one player. He did not play that many games this season. Only played 50 games. So injury-riddled season for him. Kind of had a regressed year, you know, 23.2 points per game. He's kind of not really gotten back to where he was 2 years ago because, you know, last year he only played 9 games due to the suspension that started the season, and then he had the shoulder injury where he had surgery, was out for the rest of the year. So he has to get back to that point. He has to get back to that point where he won the Most Improved Player award. You know, he has to get back to the point where the Grizzlies were, you know, a 50-win team, and he was, you know, a 25-plus point per game scorer, you know, crazy dunks, doing a lot of stuff. Like, he just hasn't been that as of late. And, you know, I hope they can get back to it. You know, they finished the season 48-34. That was good for 8th in the Western Conference standings. Obviously, they played in the play-in tournament. They lost the first game to the Warriors, which was in Golden State, and then they won the second game against the Mavericks that they played at home in Memphis. So it just didn't really turn out. I mean, I made a video about this, you know, when it happened, but the fact that they let Taylor Jenkins go 9 games before the playoffs started, that was just a red flag to me. Because as much as you think maybe your coach has lost the locker room and they don't really have the voice needed to get to the players anymore, in my opinion, you're kind of like throwing the season out the window if you fire your coach that close to the postseason. Like, there's no way your team is going to be ready to perform with that much change going on right before the playoffs. It's extremely difficult. I would never, I mean, maybe they could have advanced past the first round if it, you know, things had happened differently. Who knows? It's unlikely with how good the Thunder are, being the best team in the league right now, you know, the 68-win team. So it just doesn't seem right. But Taylor Jenkins was there for a long time. You know, Taylor Jenkins started with the Grizzlies in 2019. You know, so 6 years with that team. But like I said, they need to get back to that season. I think it was the 21-22 season where they were a 56-win team. You know, they lost in the conference semis that season, but they still just they had a lot more grit to them, you know. And I it's crazy saying it now, but like, I really do think they missed the attitude that Dylan Brooks brought. right? Because they really had to back it up. Like, the dude was talking so much that they had to back it up. They had no choice but to at least try their hardest to back it up. I feel like now it's just the motivation isn't really there as much, which this team has a lot of good pieces. I mean, the players on this team are very interesting to watch. I think Zach Edey, who was the 9th overall pick in this past year's draft, that was one of the best picks I think made in the draft. And for him to be contributing on a playoff team like this, is very interesting. Obviously, I think they drafted him to fill the void that they created when they got rid of Steven Adams. But Zach Edey's got a long way to go. He's definitely got a long way to go. I think he has that attitude and that energy and the potential to be, similar to what Steven Adams was for them, but he's not there yet. It's going to take a couple of years. But it's all about what is going to happen in that time span, right? Is a lot of people have been talking about, are you going to trade Ja Morant, right? Personally, I don't think you trade Ja Morant. I think you stick with it. You just fired the coach. They got Tuomas Isalo, I hope that's how you say his name. I don't know if he's going to be the head coach next year. I mean, he went, I think, like 4-5 in the regular season before they got into the playoffs, and then obviously got swept in the playoffs, so it's not like he's got the greatest track record as a head coach. But again, not really a knock on him. He kind of got handed the team right at the worst time, so not really knocking him that much. But what do you do going into the offseason? They traded their pick. As a Wizards fan, I say thank you very much. That came over to the Wizards in the Marcus Smart trade. So that's going to be, I believe, the 18th pick in the draft that will now go to the Wizards. So the Wizards could wind up with a top 5 pick as well as a mid first round pick as well. So as a Wizards fan, I'm very excited. Thank you, Memphis. Big fan of what you did there. But what do you do now, right? Because you trade Marcus Smart. That was a contract they wanted to get off the books. They got back Marvin Bagley. They got back Johnny Davis, who I'm pretty sure they waived, which is unfortunate for Johnny Davis. But, man, that guy really has not panned out. I'm hoping he, figures it out in the G League and finds a spot somewhere, but he has not figured it out yet. But you got Ja Morant, you got Desmond Bane, you got Jaren Jackson Jr. All of them are under contract for next season. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane are under contract for several more years. Next year is going to be the last year on Jaren Jackson Jr.'s deal. But Ja Morant's under contract until the summer of 2028. Desmond Bane is under contract until the summer of 2029. So they've got a lot of guaranteed money coming their way. Marvin Bagley is going to be a free agent this offseason. Brandon Clark is under contract until the summer of 27. Luke Kennard is going to be a free agent this offseason. They got John Conchar under contract until the summer of 27. They got Zach Edey, obviously, on his rookie deal. He's still got 3 years left, with the last 2 being team options. Santi Aldama is going to be a restricted free agent. I'm wondering if they're going to bring him back and match his offer sheet. He's probably going to get I don't know how much money he's going to get, but I would imagine he's going to get, obviously, an upgrade from what he's getting paid now. He's only getting paid $3.9 million right now, so that might be, a guy they bring back, depending on what type of offer sheet he signs with another team. Vince Williams under contract, Jay Huff under contract, Scotty Pippen Jr., who was a big piece to this team, very underrated player, Scotty Pippen Jr. He's under contract for next season as well. You got Gigi Jackson, who, frankly, I thought we were going to see more of this season. He, dealt with a lot of injuries, so maybe next season we'll see him come back and be more of a piece. And then Jaylen Wells, who finished top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting, a second-round pick by the Memphis Grizzlies. Very impressive. He had his season come to an end right before the playoffs started. He had a pretty scary fall. I think it was against the Hornets. Can't remember, but he kind of got, clipped in the air, fell down, kind of, hit his head. It was scary, and I think he broke his wrist or something along those lines, so he was out for the rest of the year. Hoping that he's recovering, speedy recovery. Shout out Jaylen Wells, one of the most impressive rookies in this class by far. But let's talk about really what can they do to get better, right? I think the main thing is Zach Edey's got to get better. I think if Zach Edey gets better, he gets in better shape. Having that dominant presence in the paint, both offensively and to rebound, is going to be incredible, because everyone knows Jaren Jackson Jr. does not rebound. He does not get rebounds. It's not really his play style. It is what it is. But you need somebody who's going to get those rebounds. And frankly, no one else on this team is doing it. Right? Marvin Bagley is not like, he's not going to play 30 minutes a night and get you 15 boards, right? You need a guy who was like Steven Adams, where he's getting offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. He's just cleaning the glass regardless. And Zach Edey's 7'4". Like, if he should be doing anything, it's getting rebounds on both ends and getting easy putbacks. That's all he should be worried about. Don't be worried about doing anything else yet. Just worry about getting stronger, getting faster, getting more athletic, and getting those boards, right? The other thing is Ja Morant's got to stay healthy, right? And I think the Grizzlies have a decision to make where it's, are you going to try and go in a different direction? I don't think you do that yet. I think you have to allow Ja Morant to get healthy. If he's not going to be healthy this next season and he winds up playing 50 games or less again, I think then you revisit the idea of maybe trading him, right? But obviously I think you keep Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is on a very good deal for, the type of production that he does, right? He's a Defensive Player of the Year award winner, previously. Next season, he's only making $23 million, right? Compare that to Desmond Bane and Ja Morant, who are both making, $36.7 million and $39.4 million, respectively, right? So Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably going to get a big payday here soon, right? So if I'm the Grizzlies front office and you're trying to be cost effective, you may trade one of those guys, right? But again, it's how bad do you want to win? I feel like they've plateaued a little bit. They got to figure out how to get back into being like a top 4 seed in the West, I think, because home court advantage in the West is huge, especially in the first round, because 1 through 8 is competitive. You see what the Warriors are doing right now with the Rockets, right? They're up 3-1 on the Rockets. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't matter what seed you are in the West, and to some extent the East either, but the West is definitely more competitive. Because you can upset a team, right? But having that home court advantage at least gives you a little bit of an extra cushion to rely on, to hopefully make it past that first round. But if I'm the GM, like I said, I'm standing pat. I'm playing this team out one more time. I'm maybe getting a really good rebounder on the free agency market or through trade, right? Like, I don't know what exactly you do, but like, if they could bring in a guy like Andre Drummond, even if they could bring in a guy from Charlotte, Moussa Diabate, that guy rebounds like it's nobody's business, and you will get him on a cheap deal. He is physical. He goes after every single rebound. I think that's like the type of guy you need. Andre Drummond's probably going to be a little bit tougher, but with Joel Embiid hopefully coming back for the Sixers, Andre Drummond's not going to get as much playing time. I think that would be a good dude to have play, kind of back and forth with Zach Edey. Like, you have Zach Edey in for, 8 minutes, then you put Andre in for 6 minutes, then you get Zach Edey back in for another 6, then put Andre in for 8, like run a rotation like that. So you always have a very good rebounder on the court. Because generally, I think Ja Morant is going to figure out ways to be effective. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to figure out ways to be effective. Desmond Bane is going to figure out ways to be effective. I think it's really about rebounding at this point and, frankly, shooting. Like, to some extent, I mean, Luke Kennard is an amazing shooter, but if they lose him in free agency, because his contract's up, they're going to have to figure out how to replace him, right? And is that Jalen Wells stepping up in Luke Kennard's place, or is that someone else? I mean, Jalen Wells is already doing a lot for a rookie, right? So you're probably going to need another shooter. So those are the things I would focus on. Is how do you address the rebounding need? How do you address, getting more shooters around Ja Morant so that when he actually drives to the basket and draws all that attention, he has people to kick it out to that are going to hit those shots. You have that shooting already with a lot of your players, but you can never have too many shooters in the NBA, right? Especially in how the league plays today. So that's really what I would be focusing on. I wouldn't be worried about other stuff. They're not going to have a draft pick. At least in the first round this season. So, they got to figure out how to win. This is not a team that's in the position to just start rebuilding right now. And I don't think they should do that. I think pulling that trigger would be a little hasty. But Ja Morant's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay out of trouble. He's got to just put his head down and just get back to, where he was at when he won Most Improved Player. Just get back to that. Focus all your energy on basketball. Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about what people are saying about you, and just get it done. Just do it. So that's all I got, guys. Let me know what you think about the Grizzlies and the season they had this year. And I'm going to catch you later, man. Stay up, stay blessed, stay humble, stay safe, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.